Welcome to When the Womb Speaks, a podcast created by the Sanctuary of Sophia. Hi, I'm Angie Twiddle, founder of the Sanctuary of Sophia, and joining me is my co-creator Kerry, a womb practitioner, facilitator and priestess. In these sacred conversations, we open space to listen deeply to the wisdom of women's wombs. Because when the womb speaks, we listen.
So hi, welcome to another episode of When the Womb Speaks, We Listen. And today I'm very excited because I'm joined once again by our womb warrior, Chloe Clarke-Jeavons. And
hello.
Hi, Chloe. I'm really excited about this. But if anybody listening, if you haven't listened to part one, this is a part two, which is in something that is going to be a 3-part series, which we have just been discussing. So this is part 2 with Chloe. So if you've not listened to part 1, it's episode 6. So press pause, go back, listen to that episode first. This is part 2. So Chloe, we're going to be discussing, but last time I spoke to you, you were just getting prepared to go to Wales, to the Brecon Beacons, and stay with our womb sister Donna.
Yes, for the training,
residential training in the Sanctuary of Sophia. So
yes,
I saw all the pictures, they look amazing, but I'm dying to hear all about that.
So
tell me, how did it go?
It went wonderfully. So yes, as you say, it was the first residential training that the Sanctuary of Sophia have ever done at Donna's beautiful retreat centre, just outside of Brecon town in the Brecon Beacons, and it is an absolutely gorgeous part of the world. I actually had a reminiscent journey on my way there, as I used to work in Brecon in one of the coffee shops, but I would literally just drive an hour, stare at 4 walls of a coffee shop, and then drive back through these majestic Brecon Beacons. And so yes, the grounds and Donna's house and the space where we, did all of the work was just amazing and incredible. And she is a wonderful host. Oh, it was so nice to be well fed, obviously, as a pregnant lady, just presented with, 2 meals a day. We sorted out our own breakfast, but yes, lunch and dinner was all sorted for us. There was like puddings as well. We were just, so well fed. And there was just something special. Like every time we go on a training, everybody always comes away going like, wow, we love the in-person stuff, and usually everybody wants more days.
Never want to go home.
That's it. And so for me, because obviously I've attended as a student as well, the trainings, but obviously outside of the residential, and there's just something extra that you get from a residential training, rather than breaking away from all of these women each night and coming back together each morning. We are staying in the same house. Obviously you can go off to your own rooms and have all of the individual solo time that you need. I'm a introvert / extrovert over here, so I always need that alone time, and the rooms are beautiful. They're all named after goddesses. And so, yes, it was a really special training. And now Donna's retreat centre is now the dedicated sanctuary retreat space. And there's actually, I think this October, there's going to be a retreat. So it's not a training. It's a retreat. So you get to go and attend and receive bespoke receiving. So that is going to be really exciting.
That sounds amazing.
Obviously, me being pregnant now, I won't be teaching any trainings for the foreseeable future. But I'll be back when I am out of the postpartum
On the other
lands.
side, yes.
Yes, yes, yeah, yes, indeed.
Oh, amazing. All the pictures looked fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were yes, it was just, yeah, as I say, it's sometimes it's so hard to put into words what you experience when you're there. It has to be felt. There's just, yeah, there's some things that you cannot quite put into earthly words.
Yeah.
Don't do it justice.
Yeah. Does she have a lot of land outside, outdoors? Because I've not
Yes.
seen many pictures of the land surrounding the house.
Yes, I'm not sure how much acreage there is, but you know,
Mm,
there's a private track off the main road to get there,
right.
and out of, you know, my bedroom window was just like big fields,
Mm,
you know, a couple of houses dotted in the distance, very typical rural Wales scenery. And then, yeah, and then you can see some of see, it was January, so a little bit cloudy weather, but Donna said that you can see some of the Brecon Beacons
okay.
hills and mountains in the distance. And yes, so yeah, there is a lot of land. There is a stream actually on the property as well. So
Nice.
many of the ladies went down there to release their, you know, yoni steam
Yeah.
waters, and just, yeah, just to connect and be free and express.
Mm.
Great place. You could go and scream down in the woods, and you know no one would hear you. It'll all be all right.
Amazing. Yeah, I've been to the Brecon Beacons, oh, years and years ago. I had a little holiday there. I was with my first boyfriend and we didn't drive. And my biggest memory from it is but having to bike to get to the shop to buy
Mhm.
food, having to carry all the food back on our handlebars,
Yeah,
and then the heavens just opened and we were absolutely drenched.
sounds
So
like
that's
Wales.
my yeah, that's my biggest memory of the Brecon Beacons, is
Yeah,
just getting absolutely drenched on this
yeah,
bike. Oh my
yeah.
god.
And it's not
Um,
exactly a flat landscape
it's
either.
not,
Wales is
no.
incredibly
It was
hilly.
hard work. We didn't plan that holiday very well
Yeah.
at all.
A little Welsh baptism.
It was,
Well,
yeah, indeed. So I need to go back, definitely. Go and re-experience it.
it
In
is.
the
It really is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous part of the world.
yeah,
Yes, yes. I think
yeah.
I had just had that thought of, as I was driving through and seeing how majestic it was, I was like, maybe this is also one of the reasons that I stopped working, you know, for the man and for the coffee shops, because I was staring at these four walls
Mm,
whilst driving through absolutely majestic, magical lands, essentially.
yeah,
And I was like, whoa, why am I not out here running around in these hills?
yeah, yeah. Although I do like driving through that sort of landscape. I like going up to Scotland as well, going past the Peak District and then up past the
Mhm,
Lake District. All the mountains around there are just phenomenal to drive through. I love
mhm,
it.
mhm. I've never
Yeah.
been myself, but I can only imagine that it's a
Oh,
gorgeous drive.
it is. It's amazing. So yeah, amazing. So continuing on then,
Mhm.
our last conversation, we were talking about your first pregnancy,
Yes.
which was quite traumatic for you and resulted in you successfully suing the NHS.
Yes, yeah. Well, the
Um,
pregnancy so much was fine. It was just,
yeah,
yeah, the
the
birth.
the birth, yeah, yeah,
The birth turned sour, shall we say?
yes, yes. But you were such, I mean, you were such an advocate for yourself. Just
Yes.
the way that you just advocated for yourself and were just like, I'm not taking this shit.
Yeah.
It's such an inspiring story. So anyone who's still listening, if you haven't heard that, go back and listen to that. It's a really inspiring story. But we're moving on today to talk about your second birth experience with your daughter
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
which was very different. So
Absolutely it was.
yeah, so tell me all about this. What happened?
So I shall begin with finding out that I was pregnant. And so Carly was not a planned pregnancy. I had actually only just received the like lawsuit payout, so that I've had a little look through all my files and things to get my dates all right. And so
Okay.
that occurred in the August that I got the confirmation, yes, your lawsuit was successful. They've settled out of court. Please give me your bank details so I can send you some money. So yeah, that was in the August, and then I actually spent a few months mainly seeking healing from this experience. That's what I used the lawsuit money for.
Mm.
And I also at this around about the same time as well, we're getting into autumn. I was just having this desire to move house. So we were, we're in the throes of COVID. It made lots of people want to move house.
Mm.
If I'm going to be stuck in my house, I want to enjoy the space that I live in.
Yeah.
And we lived in Swansea. We lived quite close to the city centre. Um, it was the house that we were living in was the first house that we'd ever bought, so it was wonderful, got us on the ladder. But for me personally, now that I was at home a lot more and not working, I wanted to really enjoy the place that I lived. Our garden was very tiny. And so, yeah, so I
Mm.
had all these requisites. I would like a big, the house needs to be the same size. I would like a big, nice garden, please.
Mm.
And my husband wanted a shed. So we started the ball rolling on that. And then Christmas came by. We still quite hadn't moved yet, but it was all in motion. Um, there was a few slightly different rules surrounding like house moving and house buying, like during
Mm.
COVID, like you couldn't go and look at houses unless yours was on the market already, etc., etc. But we ended up finding a place, and then I discovered that I was pregnant, and so this occurred in it was around about February that I would have conceived. And I'd really only just started tracking my cycle. So because of everything that I'd experienced with the first birth, and even though I was, in this scenario, I was a victim technically
Mm.
in this drama triangle, with the three roles of your victim and your villain and your hero. I knew that I couldn't continue living in this victim-like mentality. I'm like, oh my God, the hospital, they did all these awful things to me.
Mm.
Um, life is happening to me sort of energy.
Yeah.
And I was seeking healing, and I was like, I know that I don't want to seek healing from the same place or the same environment that I got harmed in.
Yeah.
I need to go to a different environment. So that's when I started seeking the alternatives. And then I found Lisa Lister and some of her books about the cycle. I think there's so many now. There's one that I hear about that people tell me about a lot called period power.
All right. Not heard of
Um,
that.
I've not heard that one. Well, I hadn't heard of it until someone mentioned it to me. But I think it was Code Red actually. A friend gave it to me. So then I started tracking my cycles because I hadn't known about any of this before I had my first. So I started tracking my cycle, and I'd actually only just finished my bleed, and so in a moment of heat and passion with my husband, I was like, "Oh, don't worry." I've only just finished my bleed. It'll be fine. Carly obviously had other plans. She was like, nah, I'm there, I'm in. So, so yes, I found out that I was pregnant. And actually, my first kind of thoughts, I was a little bit scared. My actual first word to myself in the mirror um, was actually FUCK.
Yeah. I thought it
That,
was going to be
oh,
something like that.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't scared of being pregnant or anything. Like, I wasn't scared of the physical
Mm.
pregnancy,
Mm.
but I was like, how do I stop this from happening to me again? How do I stop being lied to
Mm.
again? How do I stop someone, coercing me? Um, and then, I just after musing back and forth, I was like, I cannot
Yeah.
control what another person does. I can only control what I do.
Yeah.
And so yes, one of the first things that I did actually was I called the GP. I called my GP that I was registered with, and I said, "Hey," got through to the receptionist, and I was like, "Yo, I'm pregnant, but I don't really want any of the NHS services. I just want to let you know so that later on down the line you can't accuse me of concealing a pregnancy."
Right.
Concealing a pregnancy is when you do not tell anyone. You don't tell
Mm.
friends, you don't tell family. But they'd like to say, oh, don't conceal the pregnancy. So which most women aren't, because if you're posting on social media, on Facebook, if you're asking your friend a question, etc., you're not concealing your pregnancy. A full concealment is you don't tell anyone, you don't tell your partner, like nobody knows,
Mm,
which is very rare, but they like to throw out that kind of scare factor with
right.
so anyway, so I just wanted to cover my bases, you
Yeah.
know. After my experience with the whole legal system, I was like, I'm just gonna cover all of my legal bases here. And then I got a call back a couple of weeks later from the midwife that I was actually had when I was pregnant with Jonah. However, I didn't actually see her since that last appointment in which she said, "Oh, go to the hospital because it might be slightly big." That was the last. That was the last I heard of her.
Right.
Up until she called me, because she then said over the phone, that was it. She said, "Oh, the receptionist had told me that you don't want any NHS care." And I was like, "Yes, that's correct." And I was like, "Did the receptionist tell you why?" And she was like, "No." And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, well, I'll let you know," because she tried to say to me, she was like, "Oh, you had a bit of problem with your blood pressure last time." And I was like, "Actually, darling,
Mm,
no, no, no." And then I told her the story. At this point, the lawsuit's gone through. I settled out of court. And then after all that story, she just went, "Oh, okay." She was like, "You'll be free birthing then?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah,
right.
I will." And then that was it. And then I moved areas. So then I was registered with a different GP, although because it was COVID, they weren't, you couldn't, it's not like you can just go down to the GP
Yeah.
surgery. And so essentially I just assumed that, they would talk to each other, the information would be passed on or whatever. Um, and and then what else did I do? That was it. I did contact an independent midwife
Right.
to see what services, they offer or if there was any. And quite honestly, in Wales, there was actually no independent midwives. The
Right.
nearest one was right on the border in between Wales and England, kind of like Monmouth area,
Yeah.
which is several hours away from me and even further now to where I was moving. And so anyway, we had a little like back and forth. I was emailing, and then I just mentioned that we were moving house, and then she sent back an email basically giving me some advice of to all be careful and don't lift. And now this automatically rubbed me up the wrong way because instantly I felt as though without even seeing me, she hadn't seen my physical body, or she doesn't know me from Joe. She hasn't seen my physical capabilities. She's got no idea that I'm quite an active person. Like I'm a yoga teacher, etc., etc. And also, it was the infantilization. You
Mm,
know, or make sure that you're not doing that. And that's something that I had discovered in all of the aftermath of the dealing with the NHS is how much they infantilize women, how much they make decisions for women during the whole labor and birth process, and as though you're treated as though that you have no idea what's going on. You're just a silly little lady that's got no idea what's going on with her body. um and so yeah, once she said that, like, "Oh, make sure that you don't do this or you don't do that or you don't lift," I was like, "We're not a good fit, we're not aligned."
yeah.
Like, sorry. Well, I didn't really say sorry because I wasn't sorry. um
See you later.
yeah. And that's it. Not everyone's going to fit, not everyone's
No.
going to align, and that's fine. I think we actually need to be more honest about that when it's just, "Oh, this doesn't work for me."
Yeah.
And so then we moved to this incredible new house that we still live here now. It's where the
Yeah.
roundhouse is, my
Yeah.
beautiful garden. I absolutely love it.
Isn't it
um
more of a forest than a garden?
yes, yeah, it's like a woodland.
Looks
I have a little
incredible.
I have a stream at the bottom of my garden.
Yeah.
Technically it's
Amazing.
not mine, but
Oh, right. Okay.
or it's in
Oh,
no man's land.
yeah.
There's yes, it's just kind of the ends of everyone's gardens.
It
um
looks beautiful.
yeah, just go into no man's land. So
Mm,
so yes. And so also when I got, yeah, so we were getting settled into this house. We actually moved at the end of August, not August, sorry, the end of March. So around this time. So it's been about 5 years now since we've been here. And then other things that I did. So I actually found online, I found that the Freebirth Society. And now I'd listened to, they had some podcasts where women share all of their stories of free birthing. And so I was listening to that. I saw that they did a course on it was called the Guide to Free Birth. And in UK, once you translated, US dollars to UK pounds sterling, it was about £300. Obviously, I just had the lawsuit payout. So for me, this was absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Within my budget. And I personally found it really, really, really helpful. Because one thing that occurs in, our modern medical system, when they speak about informed consent and, getting the right information, it can't be biased and things like that. But what it started to dawn on me is that the medical system, even though they're not supposed to be biased, they kind of are biased because they decide which information is okay to share and which information is not okay.
Yeah.
And so there was a part of me that started to realize, well, if you're already funneling, going, this is the lane and avenue of information and narrative that's okay, then surely no one can get truly informed consent. If you're going, that's not the right information, they're spreading dangerous information, whatever it is. But for me, when I was listening to all of these lessons and all the different sections of the course, to me it really resonated. There was one fascinating one about scans, actually, and the ultrasounds, and where it originated from. So ultrasound technology is actually originally a military technology.
Right, yeah.
Created for use like underwater, for submarines, going, how far are things away from each other? And then this military technology was transferred into our medical system. And then I remember other things that I just remember from this course. This is just off the top of my head because I actually don't have access to the course anymore. And this was like 5 years ago. So these are just the little things that I remember. And there was something else about ultrasound technology. It's actually used to destroy cells. So it's a treatment for some types of cancer and things like that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes. And so they use the ultrasound to destroy the cells. And so they were then saying, so this kind of proves that ultrasounds can actually harm human cells and what our babies made from. They are made from human cells. Obviously I had ultrasounds with Jonah. He is absolutely fine, but just after I'd watched this lesson, I was then on, I think it was just Instagram. And then because I followed quite a lot of birthing accounts at the time and parenting, and when you're a new parent, you tend to source all of this information. Obviously, we now have so much access to information now, which is sometimes good and sometimes not so great. But there at least is the access, and then we get to discern ourselves. Oh, sorry, I've gone off tangent now. I can't quite remember what I was saying.
Talking about ultrasound.
That was it. And then I was on Instagram, and then I was just scrolling, and one of the people that I followed was talking, and she was American. Obviously, their medical system is a little bit different, and what they're offered and things like that. But this lady was saying that she had gone in for an early scan at about 6 weeks. And then she was like, immediately after this ultrasound scan, she started getting pain and then she miscarried. And I just thought, this is interesting timing that I've just listened to this lesson on ultrasounds and now I'm reading this information. As I say, I had ultrasounds with Jonah and he's fine.
Yeah.
And so it was just fascinating to me.
Yeah. How
all of this was kind of, all of this information was trickling in different forms, anecdotal things as well as the information side of it. And so essentially what I chose to do, so I chose to not have any involvement with the NHS at all. So I didn't want any scans, I didn't want any checks or tests. I think because one of the things that I'd realized as well in the aftermath of Jonah is that sometimes the care providers such as midwives or obstetricians, even though they're supposed to be unbiased, we're still humans and we've
Yeah.
had our own experiences. And if you're a woman that's also birthed, that's then a midwife, you've got your own stories
Yeah.
surrounding your births. And if you haven't resolved any kind of issues that are lingering from your birth, you might actually put your fears onto a mother rather than taking responsibility for your
Mm.
own fears or your own things that have come up. You throw them on a new mother and you expect her to carry them, or you throw
Yeah.
them on a pregnant lady and you expect
Mm.
her to hold all of your fears. And so this is what I realize kind of happens a lot, is
Mm.
that a lot of other people's fears is thrown upon you for you
Mm.
to hold and deal with.
Yeah.
And so I was just at the point where I was like, I don't want anyone else's fear. You might be scared of this, you might be scared of that, but I am not.
Yeah.
And I just don't want your fear to infect me,
Mm.
essentially. And so yeah, that was where I was going. Well, that was, my journey, my route, what I wanted to do at that time.
Yeah.
I had also, because it was COVID, there was hardly any in-person stuff, although we were kind of starting to come out of it. We're now, summer of 2021.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the rest of like the world or like the England, for example, because in Wales we were slightly different. So we actually had restrictions for 2 years.
Yeah.
So from that March 2020 all the way up until February 2022, we had some kind of restrictions. The
Yeah.
aisles in the supermarkets were closed. You couldn't buy baby clothes. Jack had to go went into Tesco's, I think it was, and was just like, we have no baby grows for our child. Like, he's run out of sizes. We got a lot of stuff like at car boot sales and stuff like that. Obviously, they were all closed during
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
so we had to say, hey, Tesco's, we actually do have an essential. Clothes are essential because we need to get some clothes to fit our baby. And so yes, so I've made a little list of like the chronological order and like the things that happened. So I just checking over it. That was it. So I found, as things were starting to open up a little bit, I'd found an in-person workshop that was happening over in West Wales. That was being taught by Joy Horner, and she was both an independent midwife and a nurse of 27 years. And she had a mentor who was a lady called Mary Cronk. And apparently Mary Cronk was she was a midwife, but she was almost an expert in breech.
Okay.
She had a lot of clients that were breech. And
Yeah.
so then that kind of like transferred to Joy. And because Joy was an independent midwife, um, she also dealt with a lot of basically a lot of her clients, she told us, ended up being like the high risk ones,
Right.
or what the allopathic medical system would consider like high risk, so breech presentations and things like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, actually there was a whole day where we talked about breech presentations. And outside of the medical system, breech is it's a variation of normal.
Right.
It's not something to be particularly
It's
worried about.
right. Okay.
But yeah, that was a really wonderful 3 days. It was just nice to be there in person with women.
Yeah.
And then it was also nice to, ask those questions that we might not want to ask online or in a public forum.
Yeah.
And so, because I had just had a visit, that was it. I had just had a visit from the health visitor because I'd moved areas. There was a little like a kids play group here in Wales. It was called Bobbleback, and I went in, and the ladies were lovely, and that one of the ones that was running it, sorry, excuse me, pregnancy gas, little burp. Excuse me. And so the lady that was running it that was it. She ended up mentioning Flying Start to me, which is like the little local nursery thing. And so I didn't really know much about it. So I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then I ended up getting one of the health visitor checks, like the 27-month check for Jonah. Obviously, all of this had fallen by the wayside during COVID. But now they were like, oh, okay, right, a 27-month check. So this health visitor comes around. She's wearing a mask and gloves. And now I was one of those people that when we moved house, they were like, right, we'll make sure that everything's sanitized and la la la. And I actually said to the guy that was like selling our house, like, please, can you not sterilize my house? You don't need to deal with those things. Like, I'm not, it's I'm all right with all of this. And so yeah, this lady comes, the health visitor comes to my house, and I'm visibly pregnant at this point.
Yeah.
No, I'm like past 20 weeks. And so I explained to her everything that's happened with my first birth and suing the NHS. And then after all of that, she replies with, well, I hope that you have a better experience at Glangwili, which is the local hospital to me.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, have you listened to a word? Have you listened to a word I've said, love? You think I want to go back into hospital? Back into the place that harmed me, and then pretended that they hadn't. So no, I don't want to go back. And so this, I'd literally seen her maybe a week before I went to this in-person workshop.
Yeah.
Also, I think it was actually, it was only the day or two before I went to this workshop, we had some family visiting, or some of Jack's family visiting. And these kind of concerns, they would never come up like in a group of people. They'd always just be me on my own with the other person. But there was some concerns about dying, and death. Really worried about you wanting to give birth at home and dying and death. Once again, this is not my fear. This is someone else's fear that they want me to hold. And take. And this is what I was learning. I'm not holding your fear. You can have that. You can deal with that. I'm not holding it. And so I ended up asking Joy. I was like, the next day, the whole death in childbirth, because obviously it is, it's worst case scenario. Nobody wants that. No mother wants this to happen. And I remember that question when I asked Joy. I was like, the death in childbirth, and then she actually got out this infographic, and she was like, now. And then statistically, we women, you are more likely to be murdered than you are to die in childbirth. And how many times do we tell women every single day, hey, don't get murdered today? You don't. Not something. We don't go around saying that you're more likely to die from high blood pressure than you are in childbirth. You're more likely to die because you're in a war zone than you are in childbirth. And these were like statistical infographics. What are some of the most dangerous things we do every day? We get in a car. Statistically, these things, life is inherently risky. Yeah, life is inherently risky.
We postpone our last Zoom because I fell down the stairs. This conversation should have happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So yes, this is it. Life is inherently risky, and we get to decide which risks we are willing to take. But I completely understand that, the whole birth, just there's so much emotion behind it. For us as women, as I say, we have that story. We have this red thread, the birth story that carries on down the mother line for generation after generation after generation.
Yeah. I think there's also that trauma response as well in a lot of women, where they catastrophize everything in their heads. Everything that could go wrong is played through in their heads.
Yeah.
which is a trauma response really, but in a way it's wanting to be prepared as well, I suppose,
Yes.
should the worst happen.
Yeah. Whereas birth is just, for me, birth, like there will always be what ifs. There will always be worries. So even for me now in this pregnancy, there's still fears that come up. They're going to happen for every woman in every single pregnancy.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen, the fears.
Yeah. But I
yeah,
like the way that you say, no, that's your fear, and I'm
yeah,
not going to hold that. You've got things in that your womb
mm-hmm,
might be telling you,
mm-hmm,
and they're the ones that you listen to.
yes,
Everybody else's projections, I love that you're just like, no, I'm not holding on to that. That's not mine. Take that back.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's because obviously in the first birth, I held everybody's fears. I did all of the things that the NHS told me to do and all of the tests and things like that, without really thinking too much about why they are there. And then, going into the deeper rabbit holes, if you look at the history of gynecology, it was a slave owner practicing and cutting open his slave without any anesthesia. That is the foundations of gynecology.
Yeah.
And then I also went into, the deep dive of the rabbit hole of birth and how that got industrialized. Because obviously before the Industrial Revolution, it was women that dealt with birth. It was the
Yeah.
midwives in the village,
Yeah.
etc., etc. And then what happened is it was the Industrial Revolution, the turn of the 19th century.
And women were hystericalized.
Yes, yeah. And then the Rockefeller Foundation, um, they basically, so before allopathic medicine was the standard, you used to have naturopaths, homeopaths, and they weren't considered quackery like they are now.
No.
And it was this, I think I actually did a post about it. I feel like I need to get it up so that I can be accurate with my information. But yes, it was the Rockefeller and the Carnegie Foundation. That's it. They did something called the Flexner Report. And then after this Flexner Report was published, essentially all of these alternative places closed. And then allopathic was pushed and funded. So basically all this other stuff was defunded. And then the way that the midwives were targeted was through the media. So and this kind of like the rise of the feminism movement as well. Oh my God, do you want this dirty midwife in coming into your home, or do you want to come to our amazing new fancy hospital where you won't feel anything? We'll just there's amazing drugs that will make you not feel anything. And so that is how it was. This is how it was all shifted away from women-centered work and women working with women. And that's how it was kind of like funneled into this allopathic system of everything needed to be testing and surgery, because I think sometimes this is the the mystery of the woman, the feminine. Sometimes things cannot be explained logically, and for me this is also part of the birth realm. Some things cannot be explained by logic. Yes, it can't be explained by logic. There's no reason for it. So if we take stillbirth, for example, it still occurs. The allopathic system have not found, why it happens, the cause, and haven't managed to eradicate it, because some things are just out of our control.
Things just happen. Same with cot death as well, I suppose, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
And I believe also that particularly with birth, there's that the child is a conscious co-creator in experience of life, in their experience of
Mm.
life. And so that was it. Back to this. So yes, the health visitor and all of that. So she ended up, that was it. I also needed to ask some advice from kind of like, I wanted to ask it from a legal perspective for Joy. Because she'd said, as discussed during the visit, I gained some advice regarding your current pregnancy and your intentions not to seek medical advice. And I was like, I don't remember saying that I wasn't receiving any medical advice. I just remember saying that I wasn't receiving any NHS advice, because I already knew what you wanted to do and I already knew what you were going to say. And so I asked Joy, I was like, what's the best thing to do? Do I ignore this? And she was like, no, best to reply. And so I just had to put some firm boundaries in. So this health visitor, just to give you a bit of backstory, she actually turned up 3 times at my house unannounced.
Wow.
Which they're not supposed to do, but we know it's kind of like this, one of those little secrets, that other unkept secrets or the untold secrets or the worst kept secrets, whatever the phrase is that because they know where we live, they've got all of our personal details, our address, etc., is that sometimes that it's like a power play. I can just turn up at your house whenever I like to check up on you. And so whenever I get a hint of that, I'm just like, oh, you're going to regret doing that. Because if you check up on me, I'm going to check up on you. And so I sent her just a very, firm but fair, no emotion, take all the emotions out of it, even though it's very emotional things that we're dealing with. And so I just said that I didn't clarify. So I didn't recall saying I wanted to clarify, because I don't recall saying that I wouldn't be seeking any NHS advice. I just wasn't doing, any medical advice. I just wasn't doing the NHS advice.
Yeah.
And so I did some name dropping. I have already sought advice for some various sources: independent midwives, doulas. I've just attended a 3-day birth workshop taught by an independent midwife / nurse. I use online references such as Birthrights, AIMS, which is the Association for Improvements in Maternity Services, articles and guidelines from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. And so, and I just reminded her that in my first pregnancy, I followed all of the NHS tests and I resulted in a lawsuit. And I also used this letter as an opportunity to ask her for the address of the local child health department, so that when it came to giving birth to Carly, I knew where to send my information for notifying that Carly had been born.
Right.
Because I discovered that it's quite hard sometimes to find that information. They make self-notifying a little bit tricky sometimes, but if you ask them questions, they have to answer you.
Yeah.
And then I said, in my letter, I would like this to be communicated to me in a letter that's been posted. Basically, do not, and then do not hand deliver it to my home without prior communication.
Right, yeah.
And then, fair dues, she sent me back a letter with all of the information, all of the home birth team and their midwives and all the numbers that I needed. She gave me the info of the consultant midwife that is at the hospital. And obviously a consultant midwife is basically at the same level as an OB. They're the only ones hierarchical structure. An OB is at the same level as a consultant midwife, whereas all of your other midwives are lower down that hierarchical structure. And so if you ever go to a hospital, you want to be chatting with the consultant midwife as opposed to any of the obstetricians or consultants in that way. So yes. So that was the kind of like interactions that I had anyway.
Yeah.
With people. Sorry, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. And so
what happened next?
What happened next?
So we're around March time. Is this still March?
Yeah, no, this is where we've moved. So I moved in March, and then the 3-day thing was, I remember it being really warm. It was really warm and sunny. So I think that was like July, August time. So yeah, that was July, August. Carly was born at the end of October, by the way. So we've only got a few months, but yes, and then I just continued on with my pregnancy, doing that free birth course online, working my way through that.
Yeah.
Still being really, because I would check in, I would check in after I had that, the chat about death and dying. Every time I had that, I sat with it. So any worries that I had, I sat with them and I almost took them down to my womb. Right. So because I wasn't having any scans, I didn't know if the babe was male or female, etc. My intuition always told me that this babe with Carly was a girl and that she wouldn't have BPES. So BPES is the eye condition that my husband has. My husband has a genetic eye condition, or his wasn't actually genetic. His was a 1 in 50,000 chance mutation. But then that means that any of our children, there's a 50-50 chance that they will have BPES or not. Obviously, Jonah did. That was not picked up on the scans. No one knew that was happening until he popped out. And I was just like, yo, Jack, get your mum to send me a picture of you as a baby.
Yeah.
Because whatever eye condition you have, our son has. And so that's when we found out it was genetic. He didn't even know it was genetic. His mum didn't even know it was genetic. They just know so much more about the condition now than they did 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so yes, it is. Yeah, it's super rare. It's so rare. We are the types of people that even when we go into the doctors now for Jonah's eye conditions, most of the doctors have never actually seen a case in real life. So when we go into appointments, they get their books out.
Yeah. And they start asking you questions.
Basically,
you're the
yes.
mum. You
we
probably
teach
know more
them.
about
We live with them. We live with them every single day.
Exactly. You've probably done more research on it than they'll ever do.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the interesting thing, yes, because they're like, oh, we need to do this and this surgery, and there's little things like they don't seem to know that after you've had your eye surgery that you cannot close your eyes properly for several years because everything's and then they get really dry eyes and they need to put eye drops in and stuff like that. But that's that's not something that they're told before they have the surgery. It's just like, have the surgery, because essentially the only reason that you really need to have surgery is if it's affecting the vision developing. That's why you go and get your checks, your ophthalmologists and your opticians and things like that. But for my son, it's not affecting his vision from all the checks that we've had. There's some BPES people that don't need glasses, and there's some that do. My husband wears glasses. He didn't when I first met him. It's just,
Yeah.
And so
you knew.
I knew with this baby it would be a 50-50. Yes, yeah. And then because I had been checking in with my womb space. I just knew this babe was going to be a girl, or my intuition was saying it was a girl and that she didn't have BPES. And when I sent that fear about birth or dying, it was almost as though her answer, or the sense that I got back every time, was that she was laughing. She was laughing at me. She was just like, you think we're gonna die? You don't know that I know how to be born, and do you not realize that you've done this like a million times before in 1,000 different lifetimes? You have this. It was just like she was going like, okay, you silly lady, and your worries there. And so that was always the sense that I got back when I sent down this fear. Oh, also, just a little backtrack, in the May, so after I'd moved in, before I'd been to this 3-day birth workshop, that was the first Sanctuary of Sophia training that I did. And I did my shamanic womb massage training, which was down in Glastonbury. Angie was teaching it. And so that was my first actually experience within the sanctuary, and being with a group of women, and it was so it was so profound. It was so profound. So all of this new experiences for me are happening. New circles of people womb healing, all the different, like, alternative information that
Yeah.
they won't, that they wouldn't be able to tell you this in the NHS. I mean, Angie said to me before that many years ago, like 30 years ago, when she was starting in this work, there was the chat about integrated care within, like, GPs and things like that, where you'd have, you'd have your osteopath or your chiropractor that was recommended, or your womb healer, whatever it was. And she was like, it never happened. And
Yeah.
now it's only getting narrower and narrower, the parameters in which the NHS are allowed to operate with.
Yeah.
Like, I have a friend slash client that goes for support, and the lady that works for the GP is a grief counsellor, but she's not allowed to call herself a grief counsellor because it's within the NHS, and there's rules about what you're allowed to call yourself and why, and things like
Okay.
that, which I just think is fascinating. Why can't
Yeah.
you just call yourself what you are?
Yeah.
So yes. And then, right, so back to, maybe we should just skip forward now to the birth, the actual birth of the baby, well, all this prepping stuff that we're
I think
doing.
it's fascinating though.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, I'm aware that sometimes I can be a bit tangenty, and we'll jump backwards and we'll jump forwards.
That's okay.
But yeah, and as I say, if you get any questions, then just
We
fire
all
them
put
at
the
me.
pieces together.
Yes, the puzzle pieces slot into place.
Exactly.
Finally. So yeah, just ticking along, just carrying along as normal. I've got a toddler as well. With your first pregnancy, I sat around a lot and ate, because I was like, oh, I'm never gonna sit down again. And so, but this one,
not with the second one.
Yeah, you are running around after that toddler. So yeah, I was just, busy running around after a toddler, etc. And then, oh, that was it. There were some funny things that happened towards the end. Actually, there was actually a tough call that I had to make. So because of COVID, Jack's nana's like 90th birthday was postponed, and it was rearranged then for what, actually, looking back now in hindsight, it would have been 2 weekends before Carly was born. And so essentially I just had a big decision to make, because when you are this close to giving birth, like, I'm like wanting to nest.
Yeah.
I'm also knowing that I'm going to have to be around people that, and it was, the one that was questioning and worrying about death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were going to be there. And to be quite honest, I just didn't want anyone to be worrying about me. I was in a stage where I knew that I wanted to be supported by other people, because I'm close to giving birth. And when I sat with it, I was just like, I believe I'm going to spend more time supporting everyone else to feel comfortable around my choices.
Yeah.
And then so I was back and forth for a long time, trying to decide, shall I go, shall I not go, shall I not go, shall I go? Because, I hadn't seen, we hadn't seen this side of the family in ages, and I love them, and it's nice to catch up and all be together again. But yeah, there was something else because COVID was happening as well. I think there was a message about, needing, basically, like, because you're pregnant, we need you to do COVID tests and la 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 la. And I was just like, I'm just gonna not come.
I'll bow out of this one.
Yeah, like I didn't want any,
No.
it was his nana's weekend, and I didn't want anyone to be worrying about me or fretting about me. And as I say, I wanted support. I didn't want to be supporting everyone else to feel okay about my choices. So I just stayed at home, and I had a really lovely weekend, actually, by myself. The following weekend, I actually had my Reiki level 2 attunement, which had been booked and paid for by my husband as a birthday present 18 months before. It was one of those things where, ironically, he got me the thing, happy birthday, la la la, and then COVID hit, and they were like, I have to stop it. And so it was 18 months later when she was like, right, we can do it again. And she was like, and it was
timing.
I know. I remember she actually asked, she was like, oh, do you want to, she was like, oh, are you sure you want to come? Like, this pregnant, you do know babe will be attuned as well. And I think I knew that if I didn't do it now, then I wasn't going to have another chance before babe came. And then it's tough to
Yeah.
get away when you're
Mm,
breastfeeding, and
mm,
and I like to stay with the babes when they're really young and breastfeeding
yeah.
and things like that. And so I was like, no, let's do it. So we did it. So I did it, and then yes, I did it. Went and did that Reiki level 2 attunement, and then that was on a Saturday and Sunday. And then it all started. And then it all started ramping up. So I think it was like, yeah, the Monday and Tuesday, I'd started to feel a little bit ill, actually. I was that sneezing and coughing, and
Yeah.
to the point where,
Can I just ask a question? Put my hand up.
yes, yeah,
What
yes.
preparations,
Mhm.
what practical preparations did you have in place then, ready for the birth at home?
At home. Oh, so we had a birth pool.
Yeah.
Um, a birth pool. I think that was it. Just a birth pool.
Just had the pool.
Yeah. There was no, I'd like,
And
there was no,
you would just go in with it, just whatever happened.
yeah. Yes, I was
Okay.
also, because I didn't know. So one of the things that were different, obviously, to the last time is that because I knew that this one would be, so I knew that I would never be induced again
Yeah.
because of because the lungs. So the last thing to develop on a baby in utero is the lungs.
Mm.
Um, and once the lungs are developed enough, so babe's like, oh, okay, I can breathe outside of the womb now, because that's the last stage. This happens, and I want to also, that one of the extra reasons that I know this and how this ties into my own lived experience is that my brother's wife, she developed, she went past preeclampsia and developed HELP syndrome when the liver starts to fail. But because she was only 32 or something weeks before the US hospital delivered her baby with a C-section, they actually gave the baby steroids to help the lungs develop, because
Okay.
they would be underdeveloped if she came out
Yeah.
at that time. So they did that first, and then they did the C-section. And so yeah, lungs get fully developed, and then once the lungs are fully developed, your baby's like, woo, right, we're ready. We can survive outside the womb now. We can breathe outside the womb, because that's what you want. Obviously, up until that point, they're getting all of their oxygen and things like that from the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And so baby's lungs developed. Baby then releases a hormone, and this hormone is then picked up by your receptors in your uterus, and that is how labor starts.
Mm.
So for me, any induction that happens in hospital is a potential risk for this baby's lungs. Why are you forcing this baby out? Its lungs might not be ready. And I have actually spoken to a woman that had this exact story. She was pregnant with twins. The hospital said, because you've got twins, you need to um, be induced. She was induced. The babies came out. Their lungs weren't fully developed. Then they went into NICU. And then this narrative that she now has is that her body is just incapable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they have,
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
what I know, they evicted your babies too early.
Yeah.
If they're so smart and amazing, these allopathic doctors, etc., why don't they know this basic physiological hormonal
Mm.
information? And then
Yeah.
then another rabbit hole,
Yeah.
like giving birth on your back. Your
Yeah.
pelvic opening is 30% smaller when you're lying on your back with your knees out,
Mm.
compared to if you're on hands and knees with your knees facing towards each other. Why don't our amazing NHS know that?
Yeah.
Why do they have women birthing on their backs with their
Mm.
pelvic opening smaller? And then, so this is what I started to realize through the Freebirth Society and their course. Almost everything, a lot of things that they do in hospital are actually counterintuitive to the
Yeah.
physiological process of birth. And so yeah, for me, I knew that I would never be induced again. Obviously, I only wanted to be induced with Jonah, whether in a medical, that was what my note said, if it was medically necessary. And
Yeah.
obviously, they told me I had preeclampsia.
Yeah.
And so I also knew that if I ever did go into, if I did choose a hospital, then there was absolutely no way that I would be making any decisions or choices or without seeing test results myself.
Mm.
Because of what's happened last time, I was like, if that scenario did happen, you would have to wait for the test results, and you would need to show them to me and explain them to me, because of what I've gone through in the past. I'm
Yeah.
not just going to believe what you say, because I've done that before.
Yeah.
And then also, if I ever did go into a hospital setting, there is no way that I would be seen by a man. If a male doctor or a male midwife came in, I'd be like, no thanks, get me a woman.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a womb. They don't even know what it feels like to have a vagina. They don't know what it feels like for things to go in or out of their vagina. Yet they sit around telling women what birth should feel like when they've never experienced it before, ever. Like, I don't go around telling men how their dick should feel.
No.
I don't have one. And I don't know many women that would go around going, hey, mate, your dick should feel like this when this happens. How do you know? The audacity. The audacity. So yes. Right, where was I with the
So yeah, I mean,
yes, that was it.
I asked you the question
That's fine.
about what preparations.
Oh yes, what
In
preparation?
my
And it was
head,
just the birth pool.
yeah,
Yeah.
just the pool.
Yeah. Just wait, and then the birth pool. That was it.
And
Because
who was there? Who was
just
with
my
you?
husband,
Just your husband.
So I did have, so sometimes I did, obviously I'd had the independent midwife, but that didn't align. And then there was a few, because I was like new to the area as well, like I did look at some doulas and things like that, but like once again, every time I sat with it, I was just like, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel aligned for me. Like, I'm quite intuitive. I can sense sometimes what other people are feeling. And so, but I probably wasn't really aware of that consciously. I would just kind of like pick up on other people's things and take it on as my own. Whereas now I'm just like, I don't want, like, it's almost like, because you're in this birth space, everything's heightened a little bit. So it was almost like a dog or something. I'm like, I can smell your fear. I can sense your fear, and I don't want you near me with your fear. And so thinking back, sometimes I'm like, oh, it would be lovely to have, some women supporting me, but there was none. There was none that came to mind that didn't have their own set of fears.
Yeah.
As well. And it's and if someone's going to support a birth, they have to do it voluntarily. You can't force someone to do it.
Yeah.
Because if they're gonna bring their own stuff.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So it was you and your husband and your son Jonah, was
Yep.
he around? Yeah.
Yeah,
And how old
absolutely.
was he at this point?
He was just about to turn 3.
Right. Oh, how
Yes,
lovely.
yes, yeah. So he was, still really young, and he wasn't really talking that much either. Didn't have that many words. Carly's words came like a lot sooner. But then I know there is a difference between the boys and the girls. Actually, it's a speech and language therapist actually that told me that when I was saying about the difference between my son and my daughter. She was just like, oh, well, girls do talk sooner, and boys are more like, physical and all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes their words come later. She was like, that's why boys are referred to speech and language way more, because when they compare boys and girls together, obviously the boys seem like they're behind, but they're not. It's just
they're just in their own process.
They're in a different developmental journey or trajectory or whatever. And so I'd just gotten back from the Reiki weekend. We are now into towards the end of October. I just start to feel a bit rubbish. I remember making an onion and thyme like concoction to drink to help with my cough.
Okay.
And then I got the maternity pads out again, because every time I did a forceful cough or sneeze, wee would come out, as it does when you're that stage of pregnancy. According to my dates and because obviously I didn't have a dating scan, I was about 37-ish weeks.
Right.
Or just over, so kind of, potentially right on their line for the NHS and their officialness and their parameters, because everything has to be quantitative for the NHS.
Yeah.
Data, we need numbers and figures and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, I was just feeling I was feeling a bit rubbish. I'd also had just developed a bit of sciatica as well, because I remember I was walking up the garden path and like suddenly my left leg just kind of like gave way beneath me, and I was like, oh, this is a bit concerning. And so I'd gotten the TENS machine out, that I'd got from Jonah's birth, and charged that up, and then was just had that on my leg.
Right.
And then I just started feeling a bit sorry for myself. You know, I think I was messaging messaging a friend because she was like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, to be honest, I was like, I'm just feeling sorry for myself. Like, I've got a bit of a cold. Obviously, I didn't do any testing, so I've got no idea whether this is COVID or not.
Mm.
I was just a bit ill.
Mm.
You know, that's what happens. People get ill sometimes. Um, and then I actually got a message from my lady that taught the Reiki to say, oh, that other lady that was on the course, she went to a funeral on Friday and someone tested positive for COVID. And then she
Oh,
was asking me if I was all right with sending my details to like track and trace and blah blah blah. And I said, absolutely not.
no.
I'm not okay with that, thank you.
Mm.
But I'm pretty sure, like I was like, I feel a bit rubbish anyway, so I'm pretty much gonna probably just stay at home anyway for the next 2 weeks,
Mm.
being
Yeah.
super pregnant. And so she was like, and she was very, very respectful, and adhered to my wishes. And then asked, she was like, "Oh, do you want me to send you some Reiki?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, actually, that would be lovely." Um, and so yeah, and I think this was on like the Wednesday. Yeah, this was on like a Wednesday now. So a few days afterwards, um, and yeah, and I think I had a little cry as well. I think I remember crying to Jack because I was just feeling a bit unwell, and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I feel sorry for myself." Just having one of those moments. So yes, was being sent some Reiki, and then my friend that was messaging me as well, asking how I was, and so I was just honest and like, "Oh my God, I'm pissing myself every time I cough and sneeze, having a whale of a time here." And so, and then I was asking her because the only thing in my brain that I was thinking about for Carly's actual birth and coming out was
Mm.
just like someone's got to get the time that she came out so I know what her astrological birth chart will be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She needs to know
And
her rising sign. Of course
that's
she
it.
does.
This is important stuff in our world.
Very important.
Yeah. And so she looked at the astrology and she's like, oh, well, she's definitely ready to make her arrival, the planets are good for birthing. And I was just like, oh, okay, great. And then actually I ended up going to bed early that night because I felt rubbish. I was like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that. I was like, no, I'm just going to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so I went to bed. And then the last thing my friend messaged me was like, oh, well, she's definitely ready to make her arrival. I'll tell you what the next photo I sent was. So I then went to bed. I woke up about 1 a.m. because my husband had come to bed. And I'd woken up with like a hard belly and needing to wee, which was really normal. That had been happening for a couple of weeks. Waking up in the middle of the night, bit of a hard belly, needing a wee, just get back into bed and fall back to sleep.
Mm.
Whereas when I got back into bed, I noticed that the hardness of my belly wasn't going away. And I'm like, oh, okay, not going away. And then I remember turning on the TV. Friends is my go-to show to put on in the background.
Oh, I love Friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's watched it so much that it doesn't really take much. And
Yeah.
also, I think when I was like post Jonah, when I was traumatized, it's like it's comforting. That's
Yeah.
one thing that we know about shows that you've watched a lot is that they're comforting.
Yeah. I've got
Um,
a few comfort shows. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And so that was on, and I was kind of in child's pose on the bed, just kind of, like moving my hips, circling my hips, figure of eighting my hips, and just like moving how I naturally felt cool to move. And then the sound of the TV and Friends was annoying me, so I turned it off. And then that is when I decided I elbowed my husband, who had only really just got into bed, and I asked him to fill up the birth pool, like
Right.
with air. It wasn't even, oh, that was it, because we were 2 weeks. We were 2 weeks away from my son's birthday. I actually thought she's probably going to be born after my son's birthday.
Right.
So I was not
You had it in your
expecting.
head that you had
I've got
that
another
time.
couple of weeks to
Yeah.
get prepped. That was what was in my mind.
Right.
Carly had other plans.
Yeah.
So yeah, elbowed Jack and said,
So you weren't
fill up the birth pool.
you weren't having contractions or anything like that. You just felt odd, and you
Well,
thought,
yeah, my belly was tight. It was hard. It was
right,
hard. But they weren't like intense. Because with Jonah, I was induced. Like I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know what natural
yeah, yeah.
contraction
Well, I don't know what it
surges feel
feels
like.
like either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't know. And I didn't know how long it was going to last for. You know, I was like, I could be here for hours, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it just felt, yeah, it was just uncomfortable. I don't remember any kind of like, oh my God, there was a contraction, then it stopped. Like nothing like the first birth at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
I just felt this tightening and then it was uncomfortable. I wanted to move. So I just flowed with what my body was, I surrendered to what my body was telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, elbow Jack was like, oh, can you fill up the birth pool with air? Because it wasn't even pumped up with air
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember his response was like, oh, you want me to do that now? Because he'd just come to bed. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm so sorry that having your child is an inconvenience for you right now and sleeping. But it's not like, and even he says now, it's not like you said, I'm in labor. You just said, can you fill up the birth pool? And I thought it was a really weird time to do that. You know, like 1 a.m. in the morning, whatever. Just got to bed. And so and then everything just got a bit more uncomfortable. So I was like, I want to go and get in the bath. I didn't use any
Yeah.
water with Jonah. I was all on land, etc. And so I walked to the bathroom myself and started running the bath. And that's when my noises changed a bit. Like I could
Ah,
tell, and
yeah,
I
I
was like,
remember you saying, yeah, that
ugh.
the noises.
Yeah, the moves. You kind of just like the deep, like, you just need to get it out. So I'm doing that whilst filling up the bath. And I remember there being kids' toys in there, obviously from my son earlier on in the evening. So I'm moving all
Yeah.
the toys off to the side and stuff like that. And then I think my noises then woke Jack because he then turns up,
Yeah.
realizing that something shifted. And he's like, oh, right, no, she's in labor. Okay. And so so he wakes up and then he goes off to go and get all of the pool bits. He needs an
Yeah.
air pump. It literally takes like hours just to fill up this pool with air, right? And so yes, I run the bath and then I lay in the bath. I've put on some music. I couldn't have anything with lyrics, people saying
Mm.
words, but I had a beautiful chorus. I've got an album called Resonance Meditation.
Oh yeah, I like
And
them. Yeah.
yes, and it's like all of the chakras, and it's kind of just
Nice.
humming, and it was beautiful.
Oh, I'll have
So
to find that. I love them.
yes, they are great, aren't they? I
Oh
absolutely love
yeah.
Beautiful Chorus. So I put that on, and was just flowing. And so I think for me, it was around about 4 a.m. by the time I got into the bath. And that is when I knew that the surges, like thinking back to it now, the surges changed from that first stage of contractions, which so there's two different ones. One where they're kind of going around your um, stomach or
Mm.
womb, belly, like
Mm.
this. And then there's the pushing surges in which the muscles that are down the sides kind of start to come down like that.
Wow.
So there's two different stages of the contractions.
Yes. So I'm just explaining as well
Mm-hmm.
to those that are listening. Chloe is explaining this to me. I have 3 children, but I had 3 C-sections,
Mm-hmm.
so I have no idea what labor feels like. So I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the the in-depth description that you're giving me, because I don't know what a contraction feels like, and people listening might not know that as well. So
yes,
yeah, I really
absolutely.
love the the real descriptive yeah, carry on. So you're having these
No worries.
different types of
Yes,
contractions.
yeah. So now I can feel it. They're different. Oh, when I was lying, just to backtrack a little bit, when I was lying in bed before I moved into the bathroom, I actually felt Carly's feet. It was almost like they line up. I know no one else can see us, but you can see me. But I felt her feet like up here.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, because they're kind of like sometimes to the side and you can feel the bum and the things tucked. It was almost like I actually felt her go shift,
Oh
ready to
wow.
descend down. And I felt her feet just underneath my ribs.
Yeah.
And so that was when I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah.
And so yes, I would lay in the bath, and obviously I've got like a standard long thin bath, none of these wide spa-like baths, but that would have been amazing if I did. So long thin bath, and what I end up doing is, sorry, excuse me, another pregnancy burp. What I end up doing is lying down. I'm lying down in the bath, kind of on my side,
Right.
when I don't have a surge, and then I can feel the surge coming. And I will explain. This is the best way that I can explain birth, physiologically giving birth, is it feels like throwing up, but out of your vagina. You know, when you are about to be sick and you get those feelings, you're like, oh, it's coming. Or I've just got to surrender to it. Or, the retching, when the
Yeah.
retching is about to come. It's that. So you can feel it. You're
But
like, oh,
going
okay, yeah,
down.
yeah. So I'm like, oh, I know there's one coming. It's coming. And so every time I would feel it, oh, it's coming,
Right.
I would change positions and I would half kneel. So one knee up and like kneeling on one leg. And so I would get into that position and then I would just flow with this, essentially
Yeah.
throw up out of my vagina. And I would just be like, "Ah, ah," and just, yeah, letting it all out, letting it
Yeah.
go. At one
So
point,
that position that
Mhm.
you went into, were you
Yeah,
just following what your body wanted to
yeah,
do, or is that
yeah.
something that you've been told to
No,
do as a
just
day training? Yeah.
naturally following that. I
Yeah.
remember feeling a bit annoyed because I couldn't widen my knees any further
Because of
because
the
of the
sides of the
the bath.
bath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I ended up, otherwise I might have been kneeling on both knees and then like have like with my knees wide out, feet tucked
Yeah.
under the bum or something like that. But with
Right.
this one, yeah, one knee was up
Yeah.
and the other knee was down and I was just, yeah, open and going like and then my son arrived, turned up in the bathroom, and I was just like, oh, hi Jonah. Mommy's just having a baby. Everything's fine. Because he obviously heard my noises and his bedroom's right next door to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So he heard my noises and then so I remember picking up my phone because he wandered off, right? And I'm like, I can't go after him. So I called and Jack's like sort of somewhere around, sort of trying to sort out the birth pool. So I called Jack and I'm like, yo, Jack, Jonah's woken up. Can you just go and find him and sort him out, please? Our toddler's wandering around somewhere. It's like 4 a.m. in the morning, dark and
Mm.
stuff like that. So he's not going to get into too much trouble. But anyway, Jack ends up finding Jonah, obviously, and then they both come into the bathroom and they just, watch mummy have a contraction for a moment. And so yeah, that was kind of like back and forth. When I think back on it, there's probably about 30 of those.
Mm.
And like, I don't remember, it wasn't like, oh my God, when is this going to end? Um, because yeah, one of the things that they always say in hypnobirthing is, a contraction or a surge, it doesn't last, they don't last forever, they
Mm.
last for maybe a minute maximum. This is naturally in induction
Yeah.
contractions sometimes never let up. That's what I remember about
Oh God.
Jonah's. It never let up with Jonah. I
Mm.
never got a relaxation. I was like, when the fuck am I going to breathe or, not
Right.
feel this? Whereas with Carly, I definitely felt very, very like clear. This is a surge. Now we're not surging. This is a surge. Now we're relaxing. So basically, when I stopped surging, I would lie back down again until I had that feeling again.
But you're going to throw up again.
That I'm going to throw up out of my vag again. Yeah. And then I'd move back into that position and be like, "Ugh." And then at some point, I remember wanting to feel like what's going on. Oh, another little bit. I'll share all of it because this is something that they sometimes ladies worry about. I definitely
Yeah.
had a bit of poop come out,
Yeah.
but I think I remember like even though you're in this altered state, you're still like aware. It's so hard to explain in words, but it's just you just do it. It's limbic. It's like this ancient part of you that has done this and knows how to do this and was programmed to come into this earth to know how to do this because
Mm.
you were born a woman. um just knew it was happening and I just picked up these bits of poo and then there was actually a little teacup on the side, so they went in there. Lovely, lovely, delightful. I've still got that mug actually, but I think it got smashed, it got broken, so I don't actually use it for tea. Just got little trinkets and bits in it now. So yeah, so I'd use that, had my little cup on the side with my little bits of poop in there, my little poo teacup. And then yes, at one point I wanted to feel, I was like, what is going on? I was like, I wonder what's going on. And so I put my hand down near my, vaginal opening. And that is when I experienced something that no one ever told me was ever possible in a birth. And that is, I felt pleasure. So you know when you are erotically charged, aka horny, and then someone touches you in your area and you get that zing of pleasure. That's what I felt. So I put my hand down there, and actually what I felt was the amniotic sac. So Carly's amniotic sac was bulging out of my vaginal opening, and then I felt that zing of pleasure. And then I think this was literally timing wise. Jack literally wandered back into the bathroom at this point. Good timing, because his child's just about to be born. And then the next surge, I stayed in this position, one knee up, one knee down. But then for some reason, I'd flipped around and I was like on the tap end. And so I'm like, oh, I can't lean back because there's a tap. So good timing. Jack comes in, he supports my back. And then the next surge, her head is born. And I think this is also when the amniotic sac breaks as her head's coming out. And then the following surge, her body comes out. So it really did feel truly like the fetal ejection reflex, compared to Jonah, where I felt like I was doing a lot. Pushing. This one was completely different. I just surrendered to it, and it was like she knew what to do herself. And just came out. And so yes, so then she is out. The amniotic sac has broken as she's coming out, because it's like half draped over her face. So I just instinctively scoop that out of the way. She doesn't cry straight away. This is one thing that I've also learned. Babies don't necessarily cry straight away. Not if they're born peacefully. And crying, there's a lot of things you see in the media of babies as well. It's like, stimulating them, you want them to cry, but actually it's not necessary. They don't need to cry to know that they're okay. Some babies are just born. Like, I've seen some absolutely gorgeous videos where the babies just born so peacefully and they look so aware already. And you're like, you've literally just been born and you look like you've been here for decades. But then they've maybe been here before. And so
she brought her up onto your
brought her up into my arms here. I actually remember thinking, like, I fucking did it. I was like, and also like, look at me, I didn't fucking die. Didn't fucking die, did I? Still here. And then I just remember, like, basically thinking, like, I fucking did it. I fucking did it, and I didn't need anyone. And all of these fears and all of these people, like, look at me, look at me. I just was like, I felt like a warrior.
It felt like it must have felt really liberating. And
it really
empowering
was.
And amazing. Can I ask what when you gave birth to the placenta?
Yep.
Did you keep the cord attached for a while?
Yes.
How long did you? How did you?
It was about an hour after I had Carly. So once we'd sorted out, I got out of the bath. And then Jack just had, basically a trail of towels leading from the bathroom to my bed, which he then put all of these puppy pads onto. Puppy pads and towels. And then I just lay in bed, and it was glorious, a cup of tea, my own home. That was the biggest difference. That was the biggest difference, is how safe I felt. I just felt so safe.
You didn't have to take that baby anywhere.
I
remember when I had my second child, Eden. She's born on the 2nd of January. And it was snowing outside, and my husband came to pick us up from the hospital, and I was terrified of Eden out of my three was the tiniest. She was
Hmm.
like a little bird. She was so
Yeah.
delicate. I didn't want to take her out
Yes,
in the
yes,
car, on the road, on
absolutely.
the ice. Oh my, I was terrified.
The car ride is the worst thing
It's
ever.
awful,
Jack was
especially
like, I've never driven so slowly before as to,
yeah.
Jonah, coming home with Jonah from the hospital.
Mm,
Yes, yeah, it is. You're just like, oh my God, this world is
it's so scary.
it's so dangerous,
Yeah,
As we say, the car is risky. Car is
yeah,
one of the riskiest things you can do.
exactly. Yeah.
Is getting into that car.
So you just had to travel from the bath to the bed.
Yeah, that was it. Apparently our walls are quite
So
thin, so I think our neighbours woke up as well, but that's fine.
that's all right. Yeah.
We plant the seed of natural birth wherever we
Yeah.
go. So yeah, waddle to the bar to the bedroom. Jack had set it all up for me, and then it was about an hour later. I actually remember feeling, and I remember reading about this. There was I'd read a few stories about ladies feeling kind of like, oh, a bit weird and shivery, and then I kind of got that feeling, and then I knew placenta needs to come out, and
Right.
so I got off the bed. I literally squatted down next to the bed onto some like some more towels and whatnot that Jack had got sorted, and it literally just came out. Just it was
Right.
ready, and so yeah, and then we didn't do a full lotus birth. I wanted to, but after a couple of days of like moving this like bowl around with Carly, I was like, I'm just annoyed with having to move this bowl around as well as
So a
Carly.
lotus birth.
A lotus birth is
Lotus
when
birth. What is that?
A lotus birth is when you keep the cord attached to
Yes.
the placenta and you wait for it to fall off
Mm,
naturally,
mm.
which takes a couple of days. I think it varies. Sometimes it
Yeah.
can take up to 4 days.
Yeah.
But what you have to do with that one, if you're keeping the placenta attached, is you put it in something. I mean, we just had like a glass bowl, but then you have to cover it with salt and things like that, obviously, so it doesn't go off and
Right.
whatnot. But what we ended up doing actually was after a day or so, we just did a cord burning because it
Right.
stopped pulsing and things by that point.
Yeah. It sounds so amazing. It
Yes.
really does. I knew I'd feel like this listening to your story because it's just something that I'm obviously never gonna experience. Even natural birth, I'm never gonna experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And
It's
it's
okay.
just amazing to hear that story. And
Mm.
obviously, I follow the Free Birth Society. I've seen some incredible videos, and I've
Mm-hmm.
seen videos of the baby still attached to the placenta, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It really, really is.
And just fascinating, just how amazing to be able to just be at home and watch that process of your baby still being nourished,
Mm-hmm.
still being nourished by your placenta that you've grown as well. It's like, oh,
Absolutely. And the placenta
amazing.
is very sacred. I'm reading this book at the moment, right? It's called
The forgotten
Placenta,
chakra.
the Forgotten Chakra. Oh my God, I'm only a quarter of the way through, maybe a third, but it is fascinating.
I'm
It's
gonna have to
one
read
of
that.
those books where you're like, oh my God,
Mm,
all midwives need to read this. But yeah, there's a very special story about the sacredness of the placenta and in certain cultures and things like that, the dangers of clamping and cutting this
mm,
cord too
mm,
early, which obviously is the standard thing that happens in
yeah.
all hospitals. It is the
Oh,
standard thing
it's
that
making me
happens.
shiver. Honestly, I'm just
Mhm.
getting.
Mm. Mm.
I cried
Take
at
your time.
I cried at Elise's as well, but I waited until after the recording. But
Oh, let them flow. Let those tears flow, my darling. They are welcome here, sacred tears. And you're not allowed to apologize either for crying. Otherwise, you have to put a pound in like the swear jar or something.
Yeah, thank you so much
It's
for
my absolute pleasure.
sharing that story, that experience.
It is my absolute pleasure. I'm just holding you in my heart.
Thank you. Yeah. How amazing. Oh, okay, take a breath. Such a beautiful, oh, beautiful experience. And yeah, a little bit kind of not triggering, but just something that is never gonna, if I could go back,
Yeah.
my birth experiences would be so different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. And even though, some, like my first experience, whilst it wasn't amazing, I'm so very glad that it happened, because, I wouldn't now be experiencing these
Yeah.
experiences. And I'm very aware that not every woman has the opportunity, as I have done, to, get this kind of, well, I wouldn't say second chance, but that a chance to, I just felt so empowered,
Yeah.
from a really, so I always say, like, Jonah's birth made me never want to give birth again. Carly's birth made me want to give birth a million times over.
Yeah.
And so yes, I'm very privileged and I'm very lucky that even this shitty experience happened to me. I'm like, it's all right, bring on the shit, because this is where the gold can glow from, in the
Yeah,
cracks in the
exactly. The
mud.
alchemy.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
And this is why I also share what I share. As I know that there are so many women that, that go on into, past their mothering years and into their menopause years, with all of these stories of
yeah.
not fun birth experiences.
Yeah.
And so that is why I share what I share, so that
And
who
I think so, just sharing the message as well, that you have a choice and you have autonomy in
Mhm.
in what happens
Yeah.
in your birth experience.
Mhm.
A lot of women don't even realize that.
Yeah. And birth gets,
I didn't.
people get so, there's so much emotion in it. This
Yeah.
is it. This is it. Everyone's like, oh, you have to remain biased. It's just like, no, because this mother story stays with us. It stays in our
Mm,
mother archetype forever.
mm,
And then it gets passed down through our bloodlines and things like that. So, or the mother line. And so yeah, that's why I will always share what about my stories, and it will reach the people that it needs to reach, and they'll experience whatever they need to experience from it. I know that my story, and both of my stories, trigger a lot of people. I know that my choice to free birth, it can anger some people, but I know that none of that's about me.
yeah.
It's this mirror that's
Mm,
mirroring back. And
mm.
so if I can bring bring anything to anyone, whether that's relief or whatever it
Awareness.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
relief, awareness. Sometimes it might someone into a bit of sadness about their own things, but
Yeah.
once we open that door, at least we can look at it and make peace with it, and
It's not
all of
just
those sorts of
sadness that I
stuff.
feel, it's just overwhelmed by how
Hmm.
beautiful the story is,
Yeah.
and just the whole image of you, holding your baby and really examining that, the cord, and feeling the life still pulsing through it.
Hmm.
That's what got me. that was
Hmm.
that was what got me, just how
Hmm.
beautiful that must have been. So yeah,
Yes,
it's
and her
amazing.
placenta is actually planted outside the roundhouse.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
You're going to set me off again.
yeah.
Amazing. I honestly, I have to come to your roundhouse and just maybe come and have a yoni steam or something.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Sounds gorgeous.
You've destroyed me, Chloe.
Sorry.
I'm a wreck now.
Sorry, darling. I feel like it's a special talent of mine that I seem to have as well. Just with my stories and the manifestor energy that I carry. Yes.
Yeah, no, your stories are wonderful.
Thanks,
so I'm aware of the time, so we're going to wrap it up. That's okay.
Really long one, another long episode.
It's going to be a freebirthing special episode. I'm not going to edit it. The whole story needs to be told. And we're going to come back again for part 3.
Yes, perfect, amazing.
Yeah, as long as you're okay and you're happy to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen out for part 3 then, everybody, in a month or 2, whenever we get around to it. When the womb, as long as I don't go falling downstairs or anything ridiculous like that. All right then, my love. Oh, it's been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back and for sharing so beautifully and so in depth as well.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you to you for being such a wonderful host. And I just, well, for me anyway, you've just put me very much at ease, and that I could just let it out and let it flow.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back again with another episode.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us in this sacred space of When the Womb Speaks. If you felt something stir, soften or awaken within, we invite you to share this episode and leave a review. May these stories continue to awaken the healing within you, to speak your truth with courage and to walk in wisdom and grace. May you remember the power of your own womb's ancient song. You can find us at sanctuaryofsophia.co.uk and on social media. Until next time, keep listening to your womb. She's always speaking.